The Vulture. Okay, this is a terrible, terrible looking ship. Alright, cosmetics aside. This thing is a heavy fighter. Though I feel it's missing something. I'll tell you what, I'll leave the subjective stuff out. It's got two hard points, two weapons hard points, so two class 3s, two large hard points. Being at being at a small craft, albeit a heavy fighter, it suffers from the same power distribution problems that like a Viper does and a Cobra does, in as much as you cannot have everything turned on at once, even with the biggest power plant. So with two class 3 weapons, you're gonna have power problems. So like I've got a large pulse laser, or a class 3 pulse laser, and a class 2 beam laser. Just having these things in the craft itself chews up 10% more power than what the largest power plant gives you available. So you know you're having to juggle things here, or what you're going to be using is, I'd hesitate to say a class 3 beamer, but something like some sort of shield breaker weapon. A beamer would be best because they are the best at doing that, and a ballistic weapon of some sort. But there are no class 3 multi-cannons, and Elite need to get their act together and put the class 3 multi-cannons out there so that this ship actually becomes a little bit more useful, a little bit more viable, easier to use. So it's got two class 3 weapons hard points and 4 utility points. So from the FDL, which has got 6, it's got 4, but it's a dedicated fighter. You know, you're not going to be having cargo scanners on this sucker. So in this case, I've dropped on a point defense, standard chaff launcher, kill warrant scanner, and a shield booster, because I just didn't know what else to put in there. I have found something with the shield boosters that's I think it's a bit of a problem, or maybe they're not quite tweaked there yet, and I'll show you what that is when we go outside. On the internals, power plant, class 4 power plant, you definitely want the biggest you can get, which is 15.6 megawatts. As I say, with this thing kitted out, I'm chewing down 16.8, nearly 16.9. So you have to juggle your power. I've got the A5 thrusters on there because they were cheap enough. Frame shift drive, it's a class 4 on a ship that's roughly 100 ton. So you know you're getting about 17 light years out of this sucker. Life support, standard D class, D3. The power distributor, A5. You want an A class on a combat ship. That's just that's just the way it goes. Standard D4 sensors. Class 3 fuel tank. So it's got the same size fuel tank as the FDL. I can see that as a problem on the FDL myself, but yeah. So on this guy, probably not too much of a problem, having just the 8 tons worth of fuel. A5 shield generator, or a class 5 shield generator. This thing's got a lot of shields for something its size. Class 4 fuel scoop, B class. I've got an empty compartment because I just really don't know what to put in there, and cargo for the rest. Look, you're not going to be hauling, again, you're probably only going to have 12 tons of cargo space in this thing. It's not a hauler, it's not a trader, it's not even an opportunistic pirate's vessel, really. It's a fighter. That's all it is. It's not as good as it's not as good as the Viper in terms of multi-role capacity while being a fighter. This thing is a little bit too dedicated, mainly because of its power problems. So yeah, as you can see, it's a flying brick. This thing is designed by committee. It is an awful, awful looking ship. Let's take it outside. One of the problems that this ship seems to have, because of its oversized shield generator, is it takes forever for its shields to come back up. More so if you've got a shield booster. So we'll get outside and I'll show you what it looks like. Other than that, the
ship
craft
released.
itself is pretty
Engines
nimble.
engaged. Landing gear retracted.
It flies a bit like a Viper, while being a little bit heavier. I've got 4 pips in engines. For boost speed, it's about 380 on boost, so it's a little bit slower than a Viper, but you can almost boost continuously with its energy capacitor. So I'm maintaining a speed there of about 270, 275. I think I'm out of the station range. Oh yeah, about 10 clicks. So I'm going to go silent running and drop my shields. And I'm
Silent running.
Silent running back off, and now you can
Shields offline.
Now you can watch how long it takes for the shields to come
restored.
back. Turning from standing, so this is a half turn here to get to the station. That's pretty acceptable. That's pretty nifty turning. It's only half, but double it, you get the idea. At speed, so in this case we'll take it down to 2 pips to engines. Let's get up to speed, and it's got a lot of pitch. This thing flies like a Viper. It can get around. Great yaw and great roll. Just a second, I've got to let someone into the house. Sorry about that. As you can see, shields are taking a fair while to come back up. They recharge very, very, very slow. Weapons, so
power plant capacity exceeded.
Straight away, power plant capacity is gone. You need to muck around with your modules and get them to the point where you can get enough power out of your systems to run your to run what it is that you want to run. A while ago I had this, this is balanced. It says 100 and 100, but the usage is just over 100, like just ever so much over 100, and it and so mucking around with
online. Shields offline. Thrusters online.
There. So turning my frame shift on and then back off again rounded out that error, and so now I'm sitting exactly on 100%. So I've managed to get my thrusters and whatnot back, so now I can actually fly, and my beamer and pulses, can now work. How does it go in terms of power use for weapons? It's not bad. That's continuous fire, and we're getting a fair bit out of a single capacitor. So yeah, overall it's probably not a bad ship. How expensive is it? It's about 10 million to outfit. That's not counting any sort of hull plating or anything on it. If you want to go for military grade hull plating on this, I think it was either 17 or 19 million. So quite an outlay there if you wanted to go whole hog on this thing. Really got to take it out into a combat zone. However, I think the problem with the power on it, balancing up your power usage is really going to be a problem, because your modules, you just don't have any slack in your modules. You cannot go, or it appears that you cannot go full A-class on this guy and expect to mount the biggest weapons and to mount some really good stuff. You have to make some sacrifices on this ship, and you might have to go, you might have to rank down your frame shift drive is probably the first one that you're going to have to rank down. It's probably the only one you can afford to rank down from an A class to a B class, and give up some of that 17 light year range and come back down into the 14s, 13s, just to be able to make this thing viable or nice enough to fly in a general sense without having to muck around too much. You don't want to go into a combat zone and then have to turn your frame shift drive off and then back on and then off again to take out that rounding error, and then wait for your shields to come back up, which as you can see are taking for freaking ever, to get to be useful in a combat zone. So yeah, I'll take it out and give it a fly around, and I'll let you know how it goes.